when you're eating a plant-based diet, when you're eating a vegan diet like I was, like many of us do, and we're talking about amino acids and how they're bound to carbohydrates, a whole new conversation comes in here, which is everyone's individual efficiency at processing carbohydrates. And this is what changed my life, and this is what made me stop being vegan. I'm recording today's podcast sitting on a beautiful bench looking at the gorgeous Pacific Ocean on the west coast of Costa Rica. And I'm here to teach a retreat at the Blue Spirit Retreat Center. Each year they do this beautiful, it's a few months long, it's a group retreat called Wisdom and Wellbeing Weeks. And I got lucky enough to be invited last year for a week, and I was re-invited this year for another week. So I'm teaching alongside pretty incredible people like Esther Perel and Bessel van der Kolk and Dick Schwartz, who developed parts work. And I learned so much. Gosh, I learned so much last time when I was here. And what's kind of profound is it was a year ago that I came here. And that was when I really got the focus for my book because I had proposed a book to the Hay House Publishing Company before that. So we're talking summer, fall of 2023. And the proposal was about the spirit of trauma. And that's a big one. There's a lot to cover there. And I tried really hard in a proposal and I failed. And they told me, nope, there's too much coming out about somatics. This is too vague. This is too big. But we really like your ideas about nutrition. Would you write a book just about nutrition? And believe it or not, in 2024, or rather 2023, I was in this space where I thought it was done. I thought, people don't really care about nutrition. I teach 1 week of nutrition in my 7 week course, which is one out of the 6 weeks that most medical doctors learn in their whole training and studies and going to school to become doctors. And I thought that's enough. I don't have to go any further. And what was fascinating is I was hired to come to Blue Spirit last year to teach about nutrition. And I thought, okay, I'll just come and do my thing. I can do this with my eyes closed. Like I've been teaching nutrition for so long. And I had 3 or 4 sessions, and it was amazing to see the people's faces light up with this information I was giving them. And it reinvigorated this sense in me of, oh, people don't know this still. Like people know somatics, people know parts work, people know relationship counseling and therapy for childhood wounding and let's redevelop our nervous systems and reparent ourselves. People know all these things, but it's still very fringe to think, well, I'm going to eat my way out of stress or I'm going to eat my way out of trauma. That's not really what we're thinking or talking about, which is fascinating because somatics can be so intellectual. We can still be thinking about the somatics of our experience, but what is more somatic than eating? And so I thought, okay, this is really exciting how much people want this work. And people were asking me, do you have a book? Please tell me you have a book. Like, I want to go home and read this and have it as a guide. And I'm like, I don't. I have some podcast episodes. You can go on my Instagram. I have the 7 week course and I teach it in week 2. And I realized, oh, damn, okay, it's happening. That thing's happening where the way I thought it was supposed to go is not how it's going. I thought I was supposed to write about this very specific thing. But that's not the case. I'm supposed to write about nutrition. I'm supposed to teach about that right now. And so I went home, I sent my proposal to Hay House, and it was pretty much an instant yes. It was so easy. And I'm really into easy. I do believe in hard work. I work a lot to get this philosophy and these offers of mine out into the world. And it's been a long road to develop them and understand them in my own body and be able to teach them so clearly. But I like ease. I like when things are easy. And this was really easy. So I thought, okay, this is my first step into becoming a published author, which I never wanted to do. The closest I ever thought I'd become to a published author was a poet. I wrote lots of poetry in my teens and early 20s. And I thought, oh, I'm going to publish a poetry book one day, but I never thought of writing a book. So this was not on my bingo card ever. But the writing process has been incredibly powerful. I got very lucky in 2022 to meet Daniel Mate, who is the co-author and editor of Gabor Mate's book, The Myth of Normal. And even to say Gabor Mate's book is incorrect, they wrote it so beautifully together. So it's this joint book they wrote. And that reading that book taught me a lot about Daniel, actually, because he has this incredible ability to look at someone's vast encyclopedia of information and life experience and philosophy even. And he knows how to condense it into a really assimilable, accessible form. He's like me. He knows how to transform something really elitist and academic into working class language. I don't know how he gets where he gets that from. Um, I grew up working class, so to me it was just that was the culture. But he's really good at that. So I am, you know, asked him, would you be my coach and help me do the first round of edits for this early manuscript? And he did. And his help was incredible. He really helped me shape what am I trying to say? Where am I writing from ego and even shade? And where am I writing from service and my heart and my experiences? And now I just got the first revision of the manuscript back, which is excellent because I need to whittle down to lose 7 chapters, my friends. Ooh, girl. Good thing I have a death ritual and a grieving practice of releasing things that I have no control over because my ego and my mind say these 7 chapters are just as important as the other 15. But my body and my limitless self says, no, those 7 chapters will be born in another way. So I'm going to be going into this editing phase over these next 3 weeks right now, and I'll be sending the next, really the final manuscript in for the deep line editing, and then it's ready to go into the whole machinery of eventually getting printed and recording an audible book and all these things. But what I think I want to talk about now are two things, and they're related, and they come from what Daniel was saying, or what I was saying about ego, how he clarified me with his editing about my ego rather than my service. Really easy to get into the ego. And I'm going to say it's very easy for me in particular to get into the ego around being a nutritionist. And I'm realizing just from last night, I had this awakening in my mind and body that I stopped doing nutrition work, in 2018 is when I was studying somatic psychology. I was training in somatic experiencing, and I was shifting from a nutritionist into a coach. So I got so tired of the logic that went into nutrition. I got so tired of the science. I got so tired of the proving and the micro and macronutrients and all these uh, pieces of data because for me, that flattens the vast being, the animistic body that is food, that is land. For me, food is not some product on a shelf, it's an extension of the earth. Whether it's an animal or a plant, it's an extension of this big body earth that we land on, that we walk on, that we cry on, that we die on, and are birthed on. And my issue with nutrition is how boring it is. It's always been so hard when I was studying and then practicing. I would read these books. It's you're really pouring through like dense computer-like information. It's almost like reading a dictionary. And I find it so fascinating because my animal body knows much more instinctually about what I should eat than any book I've ever read. Though books have been incredibly powerful and helpful for me along my journey. Yet still, my body is fluid in what it wants. My cravings shift based on my energy and my emotions and what memories are coming up and my hormones and sun and moon cycles and how much sleep I got, my aging. There's so much. And I say all this because I was on Instagram and I had a post that I deleted, which is very rare. I've only deleted a couple posts my whole Instagram career because I like to have the edge of being wrong, being public. And I guess I still am by saying this. But I deleted this post because in the post I was writing about the important role that protein plays in your mental health. And I misspoke slash miswrote in one of the slides. I said there are, first of all, just so you all know, when I say protein, I'm talking about amino acids. So think of the word protein, how we think of it, like protein powder and animal protein and plant protein and protein to build your muscles and skin. Well, for something to become a muscle structure, for something to become skin healing and to have all these functions play out, we require what's called amino acids. And amino acids are like little cars of a train, and the whole train system is what we call protein. So think of it that way. So protein, whenever you eat something that's protein rich, you're eating something that's rich in a variety of amino acids that your body has to break down, and then it takes those individual amino acids and it throws them all over the body for different functions. Some of those functions include mood health, mental health, because certain amino acids create certain neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are chemicals, very much like hormones. Some people argue that they are nerve hormones. And these chemicals send certain signals to your brain and your nervous system. Very important signals. Things like serotonin that tells you to be happy and satisfied and feel a sense of accomplishment with yourself and your life and hope, right? Then these neurotransmitters then create and balance things like melatonin and dopamine and oxytocin. And so all these different hormones and different neurotransmitters, they're very largely related to the amino acid health you have, meaning a good balance and a good plentiful amount of amino acids each day with your diet to create all these necessary transmitters, hormones, etc. So what's fascinating about this to me is there are nine essential amino acids that your body needs, and they're called essential because you cannot make them. Your body can make the other ones, you can't make these. So these are kind of like the building blocks of many other things in your body. We require them, we need them. And plant protein, meaning certain whole food plants like quinoa, like tofu, like hemp seeds, these actually have all nine amino acids. They are literally what we call complete proteins. A complete protein just means all nine essential amino acids are there. So you're getting the complete nine that you need for the day, and then your body will make the other ones. That's the idea of it being complete. Now, there's a difference between complete and efficient, and this is where I went wrong in my post. I wrote, plants don't have the nine essential amino acids, animal proteins do. That is incorrect. There are plant foods that have those. Spirulina is another one. You can look them up. There's about eight or nine that have the nine essential amino acids. But now, this is the caveat, and this is what's so important about nutrition and the mystery of it and the individuality of it. Plant foods, let's say even something like quinoa, that has the nine essential amino acids. If I have a handful of quinoa and a handful of chicken, let's say, that chicken is going to give me probably three or four times the amount of amino acids that I'm going to get in the quinoa. And the chicken's giving me those amino acids with zero carbohydrates. Whereas the quinoa is giving me a lower, like I said, 25, 30% the amount of amino acids bound to carbohydrates. This is so important and it's so overlooked in the protein discussion because we think of things as isolated. We isolate our body parts. We think of heart health rather than the whole health of the body, right? We think of brain health instead of, well, how does our gut health also impact that? Everything's a system. So when I'm talking about quinoa or tofu, let's say, having all nine essential amino acids, first of all, I have to eat a lot of tofu and a lot of quinoa to get the same amount of amino acids that we get in eggs or chicken or beef or fish. And why is that important? Because everybody, for different reasons at different times in their life, has a different requirement, a different load of amino acids they need. And one thing that dictates that, my friends, guess what it is stress and trauma. When you are stressed out, your nervous system is thirsty for amino acids. It is craving protein. Your body's craving protein because it wants to turn those amino acids into very important neurotransmitters to balance your mental health, to repair nerves, to repair muscle and skin and tissue in the body. So your body is under, like when you're under stress, your body's being ruptured essentially. It's like volatile, it's like a storm. And these amino acids come in to kind of repair and clean up after the storm and rebuild. and stabilize and give a sense of security. So everyone in their life, depending on what they're going through, depending on their age, depending on their sex hormones, are going to have a different need for amino acids. I want you to really hear that. I don't know of a test that exists that really tells you what that need is just yet. This is something the body tells you. It shows you this by how long it takes a wound to repair, how achy your muscles are, how much energy you have, what your cognitive health and clarity is like. Your body shows you these things through these symptoms and through these ways of functioning. And when your body's feeling off, when it's feeling um, weak, when it's hard to think or get your thoughts together, your body's telling you that it needs more nutrition. So stress requires more nutrition, right? And this is why, going back to what I said in the beginning, we have to eat our way out of stress, which is interesting because we tend to do that, but we eat to suppress the stress, right? We comfort eat rather than eating to actually heal and recover from the stress. So this is the important role protein plays because it breaks down to these amino acids, and these amino acids start repairing things and nourishing the brain and repairing the nervous system, amongst many other things that they do. So when I'm, let's say, vegan, which I was for a long time, I'm getting plenty of amino acids with my meals all day long. There's a lot of misunderstanding that you have to combine rice and beans in one meal to get the complete amino acids correctly. Well, it's true. In that one meal, if you combine rice and beans, you will make a complete protein because rice and beans together have all those nine essential amino acids. But I could have rice for breakfast and beans for lunch, and I'll still have those nine essential amino acids in my body. It's just nice to know I can get them all in one meal if I need to. So whether you get them throughout the day or in one meal, your body will use them. That's the brilliance of the body. These bodies are so good at surviving, they make it work. They don't complain too much. They take what they get and they work with it. However, this is the important piece. When you're eating a plant-based diet, when you're eating a vegan diet like I was, like many of us do, and we're talking about amino acids and how they're bound to carbohydrates, a whole new conversation comes in here, which is everyone's individual efficiency at processing carbohydrates. And this is what changed my life, and this is what made me stop being vegan. So I hit this point where I was getting really tired, really achy, unable to repair from workouts, unable to even get through a workout, really. My skin was getting really dry. I was feeling so, the way I described it is I felt like my brain was dehydrated, like it was thirsty and I couldn't think and I couldn't process, right? And every time I saw photos of eggs and fish in particular, I was salivating. Now that is your body telling you something. I'll speak for myself. That's my body telling me something. So as I did my own personal, what I call indigenous research, which is use my body, not anything else. I used my body as a compass. I got some eggs, got some fish, definitely grieved and felt a lot of shame and felt like I was buying illegal drugs at the grocery store, by the way, when I was doing this. Praying I saw none of my vegan friends because as compassionate as the diet is, woo, you try leaving the call to veganism. Tell me how compassionate the diet stays. So what's interesting is I got this fish and eggs, went home, was eating them, and within like, oh my gosh, I feel if I can remember correctly, I would say truly within 3 hours, it felt like my brain was being reinvigorated, was being hydrated again. It felt voluptuous and full, and I felt so incredibly grounded in a way I hadn't for months. And you have to understand, I wasn't coming from a background of processed food. I was a whole food macrobiotic vegan for years. So at this point, it was about a decade of macrobiotic veganism. Before then, it was definitely on and off and processed, but it was a good decade run of whole food, organic, very balanced meals, mostly low sugar throughout. So I was very healthy and very nourished through most of this. But then something started changing. I started gaining weight. I started feeling off. It just something wasn't right for me. And so what ended up happening was, in my opinion, based on my own research and my own body's wisdom, is my body was unable to process what I'm going to call inefficient proteins. There's efficient, there's inefficient. Inefficient proteins means your body has to do a lot more work. So I have rice and beans, I have pumpkin seeds, I have quinoa, I have tofu, let's say all these different things throughout the day. And I'm getting a very low amount of amino acids, but I'm still getting a good combination of them, but a lower amount of them. Well, maybe whatever the stress load I was under, maybe wherever my body is right now, my hormone levels, whatever is happening in me at this age, 33, 34 is when it started happening. My body required a bigger dose of amino acids. So this plant form, this lower dose combined to carbohydrate just wasn't effective anymore. And the carbohydrates, for me, I'm very, very carb sensitive, were causing fat storage in a way that they didn't when I was younger. I was very, very thin when I was pure macrobiotic. I started gaining weight. I gained like 20 pounds, which is strange for me, mostly around the midsection, which tells me there's a lot of visceral fat, which has a lot to do with glucose spikes and fat storage. And so I said, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to go into my body for a couple months and see what happens. And I'm going to do plant-based still, low carb, and animal protein. And what that looked like for me was animal protein with beans and greens for most of my meals. And I'll tell you what, the weight came off. I was able to put on about 10 pounds of muscle, which has never happened in my entire life. My sleep is impeccable. I wake up rested. I wake up with energy. I wake up with clarity. I recover from workouts very quickly. My skin health is incredible. My my liver enzymes are the best they've ever been. I get myself tested every year. My blood glucose levels are the best they've ever been. My blood acidity is the most alkaline it's ever been. My body is functioning really well. And the one thing my nutritionist told me, my not really my nutritionist, but my naturopath, is that specifically, he did this test with my kidneys and ammonia levels and such to see how well I'm processing animal protein. He said it's processing really well. So I moved to what is called efficient proteins. Unique Hammond and Karen Hurd uses this term. It's where I got it from. Efficient proteins mean all those 9 amino acids are in there for you. There's no carbohydrates to get in the way if you're carb sensitive. And you're getting a much, much bigger bang for your buck because you can have a palm size amount. You have a couple ounces of an animal protein, and you're going to get 3 to 4 times the amount of amino acids, and they're all complete, all ready for the body to use because all 9 essential amino acids are in there. So it's more efficient. Your body's able to use it more efficiently, has less work to do. And it's bioavailable, which people don't like hearing because they think, well, all things plant or animal break down into amino acids. So what do you mean bioavailable? What I mean is amino acids from animal protein, especially grass-fed and pasture-raised that I eat, their muscles, their bones, their tendons have all been formed from plants. So all those amino acids that would be inefficient or incomplete for us have become efficient and complete and stored into their flesh, which is what we then eat when we eat animal protein. So it's ready for us. It's been packaged perfectly from nature for us. So I'm saying all this because when I wrote the post that was incorrect, it triggered something in me. It triggered this thing that I was trying to get away from in 2018 when I stopped practicing nutrition solely. And it was this obsession with being right. It was this obsession with having the facts and the science and the data and having like this strict regimen and plan and language that had to never have misinformation or be off or I'm a fake. Because the field of nutrition is very, very regulated in a lot of ways. And it's very, very much based in science. Not a lot of people base it on the body and on instinct. But as you can hear, a lot of you listening, if you have sudden carb, uh, let's say, sensitivity, which interestingly enough affects menopausal women the most. Menopausal women have an inability to digest carbohydrates, and those carbs will turn to glucose much quicker and turn to fat much quicker. And so I also find it interesting in my years of practicing when I would have women in menopause who were vegan their whole life, they would suddenly start eating fish and eggs. They'd be craving that, and it would help their symptoms. It would help them lose weight. It would balance their hormones. It would sleep better, less hot flashes even. It was pretty interesting. So I'm saying all this because I don't want to go down that road as I write this book and go into the world more as a nutritionist again. I don't want to go into it to that old place of trying to be right and trying to match everyone's belief and trying to get the facts down. I want to do this in an embodied way. I really want to teach people the instinct of feeling what your body wants and letting that lead you and deciphering between deciphering between what my body wants as a craving that's emotional to shut something down and what my body wants as a craving that's nutritional to support me. And in my book, I have this whole chapter about transforming processed cravings into whole food nourishment. Because what's fascinating about the body is you can be craving, like the other day, I was really stressed because I was working a lot to go on this trip. So I could not work while I'm here and just teach. So my days were doubled and they were long. And the very last day, I had some scheduling conflict in the morning and everything got squished. And I was feeling this stress in my body. I was feeling this tension. And my mind said, I want a really yummy, fatty, salty chocolate chip cookie from the bakery down the street. And I have a practice of letting myself want it. Not saying you're not going to have that, but actually saying, okay, maybe I'll have it. But first pausing to feel, well, what is behind this? What's it feeding? As I sat into it, I felt this sense of comfort, this sense of, okay, it feels like someone's holding me. I'm really wanting support and comfort right now. But I know with this cookie, because of its processed carbohydrates, because of all the sugar, there's going to be some kind of imbalance and recovery needed. It's going to actually add to my stress load. It will temporarily soothe me, and it's going to add to my stress load. Because whenever you have a bunch of sugar or processed carbs, you have a glucose spike, and then you have an insulin spike, and then you have an adrenaline spike. So it's fascinating. Within an hour, 90 minutes of eating something really sweet like a chocolate chip cookie, you can actually have more stress hormones afterwards, which causes more binging then because you're trying to relax and settle your body. So I found this all, important to consider as I'm sitting with my body. And I realized my body's looking for support. What can I support it with? How can this craving, this emotional craving lead me to something nutritional? And I thought, well, I want a salted fat and I want something sweet. So I got salted roasted cashews and an apple. And I ate that. And it gave me the same pleasure in my mouth as this cookie would on a different level, not as massive because a cookie is like refined, right? So it's more potent. But it gave me an unrefined version of, the salt, the roasted flavor, the sweetness of the cashew, the creaminess of the cashew as I chew on it, the crunchiness of it initially, and then this lovely, crunchy, sweet apple. And my body just settled so beautifully. And I had all this energy to get through the day, to do the work I need to do, and to nourish my body instead of shutting it down or overwhelming it. And so that's what I want to teach people. I want to teach them how to use their cravings, not to judge themselves or shame themselves, but to use them as a compass to nourish their body. Because when you're stressed and you crave certain foods, you're craving them for nourishment as much as you're craving them for emotional satisfaction. So that's what I wanted to share with you today as I sit by this beautiful, beautiful water. And I look at this gorgeous, just piles of driftwood in front of me and contemplate my intentions as I move into the world more with a book about nutrition and as I'll be labeled more as a nutritionist and people will want me to have really finite information about vegan good, meat bad, meat good, vegan bad. And I just don't believe the human body works that way. There's an intelligence way beyond what we would like it to be that directs us based on what we need. And it's a mystery and it's ever changing. And learning how to follow it is really the practice. Stress and trauma happen in the body, so we need to go inside the body in order to recover from it. I'm Luis Mojica, somatic therapist, nutritionist, and trauma educator. My 7-week course is going to teach you how to use nutrition, somatics, and embodied parts work in order to recover from stress and trauma. My virtual course is 100% live, taught by me and my team, and it's a lot like a retreat because we're not just teaching you things, we're interacting, we're practicing, we're engaging in sound healings, and we're there for you through one-on-one support throughout the entire 7 weeks. My team is a huge part of this support system to help make sure you are integrating and practicing this work and having all the support you need to get through the 7 weeks. Camille Leake is our community manager and co-teacher. Evan Glenn Adams is our resident sound healer, who will be doing a live sound healing every week. Marika Malaya is there for co-regulation, somatic practices, and support throughout the 7 weeks as well. Week 1 of my course is all about the biology of stress and trauma, meaning what's actually happening inside of you when you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious. Week 2 teaches you trauma-informed nutrition, which essentially means how food affects your adrenals, your blood sugar, and your nervous system, including your brain and your mood.
One of the things that was really profound came in week 2. with the shift in diet, not only in terms of noticing a real shift in my energy levels, but also in my gut health.
Week 3 helps you explore how your body experiences your relationships, the people around you, the places you go to, even where you live. Week 4 is integration week, which is a lovely week to spread out, settle in, and integrate everything you've learned from the prior 3 weeks. I'll host a Q&A session, an integration session, and a sound healing that week.
Being in community with people from all over the world feels incredibly beautiful during these divisive times.
These practices are very simple, and yet they seem to have a really profound effect.
Week 5 is the beginning of how you relate to yourself. How do your thoughts show up in your body? How do you relate to your thoughts and your ideas of yourself? This is a really important piece of embodied parts work, so you can learn how to hold these different parts in you instead of letting them rule you and your decisions.
If we hadn't worked with Luis, we would probably be on the verge of breaking up, or, we wouldn't be living together anymore. Yeah,
this video wouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Week 6 is all about meaning making. What story do you tell based on experiences you've had? And what does your body expect is going to happen again? Week 7, our final week of the course, is all about activation. It's about your relationship to the big, inconvenient, even uncomfortable sensations that emerge due to life circumstances and past experiences.
Luis's ability to kind of lead students through the work in a safe space, earn trust, and oftentimes kind of reach a resolution on the spot. It's pretty incredible.
I hope you join us because we would love to support you in learning, practicing, and integrating this work into your life.
Getting there, it was just, I could tell something special was about to happen.
There's just something about in-person retreats that just doesn't compare to online space.
Minla is outstandingly beautiful. Why not be there with Luis and his team?
My body knew that something intense was going to happen in the most beautiful way.
It was all about getting what each and every one of us needed and what the community needed.
My biggest takeaway is that I got introduced to myself.
We're just a bunch of misfits trying to find community with one another, and that's where my heart just blasted open because I felt like seen, and yeah, it was beautiful. I loved it.
Imagine going to a therapist because you're feeling depressed or unmotivated or trying to recover from chronic stress and trauma. And instead of that therapist asking you questions about your mother or your childhood or any problems you're going through, they ask you one very important, overlooked question. What did you have for breakfast? My name is Luis Mojica, and I am that therapist. I'm a somatic therapist and nutritionist who uses food to help people recover from stress and trauma. Some people call me a trauma nutritionist. Others simply know me as that guy who loves beans. Why? There's a whole chapter in the book, and you can read all about it. I've taken over 20 years of experience in the field of somatic psychology and nutrition and put all of the information in one book called Food Therapy. Food therapy teaches people the very simple yet missing link between nutrition and stress response. In other words, the food we eat has the ability to increase or decrease the levels of stress hormones in our bodies, which have profound effects on our mental, emotional, and physical health. This is vital information for the everyday person looking for more balance in their lives, or individuals looking to recover from current stress or even past traumatic experiences. My approach is highly accessible because I focus on everyday foods that are easy to prepare and are affordable and help lower our stress levels. I've been teaching this work to tens of thousands of people in person and virtually all over the world since leaving my private practice in 2020. And what I've learned from meeting people from all backgrounds is food therapy resonates and is needed by everyone. I'm thrilled to have this book as a resource for so many people to lean on so they can learn how to navigate their lives and their healing through a trauma-informed nutritional lens.